And we are back, and we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps us out a ton, and of course it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you this content. Now, y'all, you remember that judge in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who was arrested a couple of weeks ago? She reportedly, supposedly helped an undocumented person sneak out of the courthouse while ICE was there to detain him. Remember, she was arrested and there was like a big hoopla about that? Well, she has been indicted by a federal grand jury. She was arrested on criminal charges. This means that she will probably be going to trial for these charges. Unless maybe she strikes some kind of plea deal or something along those lines, she'll probably be going to trial. Y'all, this is a judge who's going to be put on trial for helping an undocumented migrant escape ICE custody. So this is the world that we're living in, y'all. Let's take a look.
Welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. We do have some breaking news right now to report. Live picture there out of Milwaukee, a foggy Tuesday afternoon there. We're learning. I want to put this tweet up from our colleague there at Fox 6, Jason Calvi. And he has a screenshot there, a photo of the order itself, the grand jury indicting a suspended Milwaukee County Judge, Hannah Dugan, on charges she helped a defendant escape. Federal immigration enforcement. This was a story we brought you about 2 weeks ago, and now there's a new development, a grand jury indicting the judge. Remember, the state Supreme Court there in Wisconsin suspending Dugan from her roles, from her duties as a Superior Court judge there. In the meantime, you see the New York Post headline, but in the meantime, the Associated Press has it as follows, that this federal grand jury, a federal grand jury, indicting a Wisconsin judge there, Hannah Dugan, accused of helping a man evade immigration authorities, allowing the case against her to continue. So you'll remember the arrest of Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan escalated a clash between President Trump, his administration, and local authorities over the president's sweeping immigration crackdown. Democrats have accused the Trump administration of trying to make a national example of Dugan to chill judicial opposition to the crackdown. Now, prosecutors charged her in April via complaint with concealing an individual to prevent arrest and obstruction. In the federal criminal justice system, prosecutors can initiate charges against a defendant directly by filing a complaint or present evidence to a grand jury and let that body decide whether to issue charges. That is what happened here.
So she's charged with helping somebody sneak out of ICE custody. And you know something you don't want to be charged with? Something you don't want to be charged with? Allowing your money to sneak out of your custody. I'm talking about your retirement funds, y'all. Don't let it sneak away from you due to monetary debasement, inflation, etc. Look at gold. Gold has traditionally been one of the strongest, most stable forms of money for over, 5,000 years, y'all? So particularly if you're nearing retirement, you have $50,000 to $100,000 or more in your retirement account, go and click the link in the description, Paralegold, PARALEGOLD.com. Put your information in, get the free report, and consider protecting your retirement with gold. Also, you can call 844-651-8334, 844-651-8334. Now, what's going to happen to this judge, y'all? I mean, what is the next step in this whole process for her?
Now, a grand jury still reviews charges brought by complaint to determine whether enough probable cause exists to continue the case as a check on prosecutors' power. If the grand jury determines there is probable cause, it issues a written statement of the charges known as an indictment, and that is what has happened. An indictment has been handed down by this federal grand jury. Now, she faces up to 6 years in prison if she's convicted on both counts. Her team of defense attorneys responded to the indictment with a one-sentence statement saying she maintains her innocence and looks forward to being vindicated in court. And there you see, that was the photo put out by FBI Director Kash Patel of Judge Dugan walking away in handcuffs to be detained. Now, prosecutors say she escorted Eduardo Flores Ruiz and his lawyer out of her courtroom through a back jury door on April 18th after learning that agents from ICE were in the courthouse seeking his arrest. According to court documents, Flores Ruiz illegally re-entered the U.S. after being deported in 2013. Online state court records show he was charged with 3 counts of misdemeanor domestic abuse in Milwaukee County back in March. He was in Dugan's courtroom that morning of April the 18th for a hearing along with his lawyer, and she is accused of helping him evade arrest by federal ICE agents there. So that is the charge at hand. Court documents suggest she was alerted to the agent's presence by her clerk, who was informed by an attorney that the agents appeared to be in the hallway. An affidavit says she was visibly angry over the agent's arrival. She called the situation, quote, absurd, before leaving the bench and retreating to her chambers. She and another judge later approached members of the arrest team in the courthouse with what witnesses described as a, quote, confrontational, angry demeanor. Now, after this back and forth with the agents over the warrant for Flores Ruiz, Judge Dugan demanded they speak with the chief judge and led them away from the courtroom. That's according to the affidavit. So in the meantime, this is breaking right now. This is from a federal grand jury indicting this judge there in Milwaukee. Remember, we brought you the news. Wisconsin State Supreme Court did strip Judge Dugan of her role while this is all going on. They suspended her for this, and now she's been indicted by a federal grand jury for her alleged role in all of this.
So I will say, y'all, I think that it is a very tense moment when you have judges getting locked up. I know that a lot of people say, look, do the crime, do the time. Nobody's above the law. And of course, I agree with all of that, right? I agree with all of it. So, it's like, well, if she did the crime, right? If she did the crime, shouldn't she be arrested? Shouldn't she go before a jury to make that decision? And if so, shouldn't she face some kind of legal consequence? So all of that is sound reasoning, right? You really cannot argue with that. So I guess the only question left would be, well then, why not? If she did these crimes, if they are crimes, she did it, why not? And frankly, I don't have a good answer for that. Okay, I don't. I'm just saying it's tense. It's tense either way. I mean, when you arrest a person of power, it makes tension happen, even if it is a good arrest, even if they deserve it. So you can understand they might deserve it, but you can also understand the tension that it creates. I want to know what y'all think. Do you think that this judge is going to go to trial? Do you think she'll cop a plea? Do you think that the feds are going to throw the book at her? Let me know what you think in the comments, y'all. And for everybody who maybe is lacking a little bit of context here, I'm going to flow right into our previous video about her so you can have all of the context about how we got here. Let's take a look. Late breaking news. You know that judge in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who the Trump administration arrested for obstructing justice as it relates to an undocumented migrant? Remember, that was just a few days ago? Well, the Supreme Court of her state of Wisconsin has now put her on leave. They have deactivated her as a judge while this entire thing plays out. Now, in case you're not totally familiar with what we're talking about, let's get you up to speed. Let's just take a quick little look at exactly how we got here.
Meantime, some Republicans are also asking if Judge Dugan should even keep her job. The Wisconsin State Assembly Speaker posted on X saying these are serious charges and it's important to remember no one is above the law. We are reviewing the situation, and if the charges result in a conviction, we will act. Judge Dugan's decision to hide a dangerous and illegal immigrant was irresponsible and put public safety at risk. Now, Judge Dugan is facing obstruction charges after investigators say she helped an undocumented migrant evade ICE agents in the courthouse, then forcing agents to chase him down the street. The Mexican migrant was in court facing battery charges, and he's been deported before. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin stresses this guy is far from innocent.
American people should know what the charges against him were: strangulation, suffocation, battery, other domestic abuse charges. This is no innocent guy.
So this judge, Pam Bondi, came out very forcefully and said that this judge was not only obstructing ICE in doing its job, but like actually hiding and shepherding this undocumented migrant, right? Shepherding him from place to place in the courthouse so that he could evade and avoid ICE detection. And they arrested her for that. But now the Supreme Court of her state has said, as you can see here, it says, you are hereby notified that the court has entered the following order. It is ordered in the exercise of this court's superintending and administrative authority over all courts in the state that Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan is temporarily prohibited from exercising the powers of a circuit court judge in the state of Wisconsin, effective the date of this order and until further order of the court. And y'all know people are freaking out over this. Y'all, what is it? What is going on right now where you have people who are coming out on the side of criminals? Like, I thought that the domestic abusers, I thought the people who were hurting people, who were committing crimes, who were gangbangers, who were terrorists, I thought they were like public enemy number one. But now you have people coming out and defending them.
Activists are also pushing back on Judge Dugan's arrest. Protesters gathered in front of the FBI office just outside of Milwaukee on Saturday, demanding the FBI drop the charges.
We are out here today with a message for the FBI, for the DOJ, for President Trump himself. And that message is, drop the charges, stop the raids, stop the deportations.
And Judge Dugan was released from custody on Friday and is due back in court on May 15th.
It's almost like kind of a weird movie where you get a person like Trump, a divisive figure like Trump. Think about a movie, right? A divisive figure like Trump. And he's so divisive that his opposition has to take the other side of every issue, even to their own detriment. Even when what he's saying is so plain common sense that everybody would agree with it, but the opposition just has to take the other side. It's almost like we're living in a twilight zone. So the Wisconsin Supreme Court suspends Judge Hannah Dugan after federal charges. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has suspended Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan because she was charged with 2 federal counts of allegations of trying to help an undocumented immigrant avoid arrest after he appeared in her courtroom.
Good evening. We start tonight at 6 o'clock with the Wisconsin Supreme Court suspending a judge accused of helping a man evade federal immigration agents. Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested last week, accused of ushering the man through a side door away from agents. He was later taken into custody. In the order today, the court says it's in the public interest to temporarily relieve the judge of her duties.
Under the Supreme Court's order, Dugan is not allowed to carry out her responsibilities as a Milwaukee County judge beginning April 29th until further order of the court. Dugan will continue to be paid her $174,000. She's still gonna get her 175 bones though, y'all. So I guess that's good for her. Now, y'all, other judges, at least one other judge, I'm not gonna say judges plural, at least one other judge has come out in solidarity with Dugan and said, look, I might not even come to work anymore while all this is going on. Check this out.
Hi, Anita. Well, there's new fallout with one Wisconsin judge now threatening to not hold court in protest of Judge Hannah Dugan's arrest. Now, that email was obtained by Wisconsin Right Now, which is a conservative news site co-founded by State Rep Jim Piva-Verchek. The email is titled Guidance Requested, or I Refuse to Hold Court. It says, quote, I have no intention of allowing anyone to be taken out of my courtroom by ICE and sent to a concentration camp, especially without due process.
And in the meantime, y'all, Dugan has retained a top conservative lawyer to help. That's kind of smart, isn't it? So a Wisconsin judge, that's Dugan, charged with helping a man in her court briefly evade immigration authorities, has added prominent conservative lawyer and leading Supreme Court advocate Paul Clement to her defense team. So it's kind of like a judge is made for this, right? She's probably, on one hand, she's probably like, I can't believe they did this to me. But she's a judge, she's a lawyer. On the other hand, she's probably like, yeah, let's fight. You know what I mean? Clement, a U.S. Solicitor General during the Republican administration of George W. Bush, has argued more than 100 cases before the Supreme Court, and he has clashed with the Trump administration in other cases, y'all. So this is actually shaping up to be a legal Royal Rumble, y'all. Oh my goodness. So I'd like to know, what do y'all think? What do you think is going to be the outcome of this? I mean, listen, we have this whole saying that's going around now. It's really popular. Nobody's above the law, right? Nobody's above the law. So the judge shouldn't be above the law. Nobody should be above the law, right? But on one hand, it's like, look, if you are doing this and it's against the law, it's against the law. But then on the other hand, it's like, ooh, it's kind of dicey once you start locking up judges, right? I'd like to know what y'all think. Let me know in the comments. But before you do, please stop, hit the share button. Share this video out with somebody over email, text message, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all your favorite social mediums, and even your least favorite social mediums. Share the video out. Also, want to thank y'all for watching. And if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. Love y'all, and we'll see you back in the next one.
Yeah, and to set the stage for you and Sandra, this was truly horrific. This guy was in court being prosecuted by a state prosecutor for domestic violence battery. He had beat up two people, a guy and a girl, hit the guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman so badly they both had to go to the hospital. And John, you know, it's so rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes, victims in court. Judge finds out, she goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom, you're not going to believe this, takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out a private exit and tells them to leave, while a state prosecutor and victims of domestic violence are sitting in the courtroom.
So when you see these judges trying to obstruct your efforts to make this country safer, what is your message to them?
We are going to prosecute you, and we are prosecuting you. I found out about this the day it happened. We could not believe, actually, that a judge really did that. We looked into the facts in great depth. That's her picture up on the screen, Hannah Dugan, who is now in custody. You cannot obstruct a criminal case, and really, shame on her. It was a domestic violence case of all cases, and she's protecting a criminal defendant over victims of crime.